What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We got a pretty exciting video today. I'm going to be doing a live interview with one of my employees to see if he's ready to get promoted from a junior level developer to a senior level iOS developer here. So like I said, it's going to be a real life interview. This is going to determine whether or not he gets the job. This has not been practiced. He has no idea what I'm going to ask him to do. So this is going to give you guys an idea of what it takes to get to that senior level iOS developer position. So get excited for the video, guys. We're gonna go ahead and get started here in a second with Brandon, my employee who's been working with me for 2 years now. He's been coding for 3 years, and I think he's ready to take a jump to that next level. So let's go ahead and find out if he has what it takes. Okay, what's up, Brandon? Welcome to the interview, man. We have the Google Doc opened up with what the objectives for this interview are. So basically, you're gonna have 30 minutes of straight up coding time, okay? We're gonna go through this for about 5 minutes, and then we'll do 5 minutes at the end with, some feedback and some questions. Basically, just want to see how far you can get. So let's talk about the objectives really quick. So I want you to build an application that displays a list of courses. Okay, so you might be asking what a course is. Well, you're gonna be given a URL with some data, and all that data will represent the courses that I want you to display. And you can see that URL link down below.
Yes, right here.
Yep, okay, so ideally, each course should display 3 things: a course image, a course title, and the number of lessons in the course. At a minimum, I want you to be able to at least get some data from the API and display at the minimum the course title.
Okay.
The course image and the number of lessons in the course are a nice to have. Okay, we might not have enough time for that.
Okay.
And the data should essentially be displayed in a scrollable list. Okay, so we saw the URL below, and then there's a screenshot of what the application could potentially look like depending on how far we get. So each one of those items represents what we're going to call a course.
Okay.
Really quickly, shout out to letsbuildthatapp.com for providing this API. Shout out to Brian Boone. He's a great YouTuber and coder, so thanks, man. All right, so really quickly, I just want to get some of your thoughts on how you're gonna build this out. Just want to see how you think sort of on a high level with how we're gonna architect this app before we actually get started with the coding. So just go ahead and sort of walk me through how you would build something like this.
Yeah, so I can see here that we have courses up here, and it says, we have a title down here, but we just have cells that are in a list format. To me, I instantly think table view because of a list format. Okay. Whereas collection views, I do a grid format. Okay. So I think I'm going to start off by just building a table view. Awesome. And I'll go into the URL and see what kind of things that we need from there. Okay. Let me just open up Xcode.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So you said you wanted to start by building a table view. Are you going to be using storyboards here? How are you going to be building the UI?
Yeah, personally, I like to just use UI Kit. Storyboards are just a little bit more time consuming to use for me personally. I like to just do it programmatically. Okay. So in order to do that,
if you had to though, could you build something else?
Yeah, I don't mind storyboards. I just have been working with UI Kit a lot lately, just doing coding programmatically.
I think it's actually referred to as auto layout, but I get what you're saying. Just like programmatic UI building, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Do me a favor, go ahead and close out that right menu bar so we can just get a little bit more code on screen.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna move you up so you can see me.
I'm testing some of your Xcode navigation skills here.
All right.
So just walk me through what you're doing here. I want you to be pretty vocal with your stuff.
Sure. So instead of using
1 second, give you an idea of time. We have 30 minutes from now. So it's 3:50. I'm gonna cut you short at 4:20. Okay.
Okay. Basically, instead of using storyboards, I'm just going to put my root view controller as a controller that I create up here. So,
Okay. And really quickly, speed is a priority here. So like code organization and like all that stuff comes second to.
So you just want to get the stuff on the screen.
Bang as much of this out as you can.
Okay, sure. So
maybe like you could like talk, say, hey, I know this isn't the best way of doing this, but for the purposes of this video and the time constraints we have, you have a little bit of leeway to make this somewhat messy.
Sure. All right. So I'm just going to make a class here called course controller, and I'm just going to make it a UI. Oh, sorry.
And you gotta you take off that capital O in course as well.
Yep. Typed a little too fast there.
It's all good.
My table view. So we're making it a table view. I'm just going to load here.
Well, I see something wrong already in how you set up the table view, right? So you're conforming.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, good. Glad you caught that.
Yeah. Okay, let's just put a background color on this. So background color red.
Okay, so what's the purpose of this here?
I just want to make sure that the table view is going to show up.
Okay, so you're just kind of going like step by step.
Correct.
Make sure. Okay.
I'm just going to go into the scene delegate, and in order to see that controller, I have to do a couple things here. So window will equal a UI window. So controller. Yeah.
I do want this to be a navigation controller. I forgot to mention that.
Sure, no problem. So the root view controller will now be this course controller, but our root view controller for our window will have to be controller.
Okay.
So now when I run, I'm just going to change this. I don't like when it shows up as an iPhone 7. Sorry, Zoom keeps popping up, so I just have to go out of it a little bit.
Okay. So are you running your code now? Is that what you're doing?
Yep, I'm about to run it just to make sure that we have a background color red.
Okay.
So we'll see what shows up here.
Looks like your build failed.
Let's see what's going on here. Oh, I have to add these constructors.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you got to add your constructor.
Yeah. Just want to make sure that the table view is actually showing up.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. And once it does, we can start building out the table view. The cells looked pretty big, so I will build those.
Let's just start with not just a regular cell. Like I said, bare minimum, we just want to get the course name in the table view there.
Sure.
So don't worry about the size and stuff. If we can get to that later if we have the time.
Sure. I'm just gonna start. Oh, there it was. It showed up red in the background.
Okay, so that means your root view controller is working.
Correct.
Okay.
Extension. Push controller. So I'm just gonna conform to these protocols. Table view delegate, and finally view data source. These protocols will come into play automatically. Extension. Oh, we're already in a table.
There you go. Right.
Yeah,
I was going to say you don't need to conform to them because the table view controller class already does, right?
Size. Self row-at.
Okay. So you just walk me through what exactly you're doing here.
Sure. So I want to return a table view cell. So I'm just conforming to this protocol here to do that. And then this will tell me the number of, well, that's sections. I want number of rows.
Right. So essentially, this is like setting up your table view, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're using these functions to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
They give.
once again, what's the first one doing?
Well, it's going to return a UI table view cell. So it's like, what kind of cell do you want to show up in the table view?
Okay. And then what does the second one do?
This is just the number of rows in the section. So number of, basically the number of cells.
Okay, cool.
So it's asking for a UI table view cell. So I'm just going to say let cell equal a table view, and we're going to make it a
So what are you trying to do here?
I'm trying to return a table view cell and make it a reusable cell.
Okay, so you do table view and then what?
A DQ reusable cell.
Right, you got to capitalize the view in table view. There you go.
Thank you. Let's reuse identifier in, gives us the index back. And we have to return the cell.
Okay, okay.
Let's just do, let's just ask for an integer. We'll just return 3.
Okay.
I did configure UI here, but I don't have to do that. I do configure table view. Just have to register a cell and then set the delegate and data source to register this one. That's a cell. That's self. Here. We have to make sure the reuse identifier is the same. So it's going to be cell.
Okay. That's fine for now, but is there a better way of doing that?
Yeah, you can create a constant up here that's called the reuse identifier, just to make sure you don't mess up. So
What's the benefit of that?
Just
You
to
don't
make
have
sure.
to do it, just asking.
Yeah, just so, because I'm putting in a string here that I'm typing in. So if I were to make, for example, if I were to make that lowercase,
Okay.
it would register the proper cell.
Okay. And do you have to set the delegate and data source here?
I believe you do. Pretty sure that you have to.
Okay, so what are we hoping to see? Okay, so this
We're
is
hoping
good so far, right? You got about 22 minutes left.
Okay, so we want to get some stuff on the screen. I have to go into that URL and see what kind of data we have in here.
You're working with, okay. Okay, so we're getting some data here.
Yeah, this is a bunch of data, and instead of just reading it, I'm going to put it in a JSON formatter.
Okay, cool. What's the benefit of that?
It makes the data a lot easier to read. So
Right.
I'm going to see what the data contains.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy. I'm just going to copy it in here. And then you can see it comes up with ID, name, link. And I think you want a couple of these. Let me see what you wanted in here. You wanted course image, course title, and number of lessons. I'm just going to put it
yeah, but so what are you going to do with this now? Like, what is this helping you figure out?
Yeah, so this is going to help me build my model or object so I can place it in the table view cell.
Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
you don't have to create a folder, anything. But again, let's just we're focusing on speed here.
Okay. So I guess just create a model.
Sure.
And
So
let's just call it
what were you going to
courses.
do before? You were going to create like a folder and a model file.
Yeah, just to
Okay.
make it a little bit more organized. Yeah. So
Let's
called
just call it course.
And it's going to have a couple of things in it. So string. Sorry, just make sure the things that I have here. A link, an image, URL, ID. So our image. Let's take a little bit of time here.
You're good. I'll just help you out with the rest. You have an ID, and that looks like
Right?
an
That's
integer,
true.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, you have this down, so I'm just helping you along. And then you have a number of lessons, and that's also an integer.
How is that about?
Just like that, but the capital L there, and that's
And
also.
it's
I have a quick question for you before I move forward.
sure.
Do all of these things have to be variables? And if yes, why?
I believe that they will, because they will be changing. I'm trying to think what the ID represents, but yes, all these things will.
When would they change? So you're getting this stuff from the API, right? And you're putting it in. At what point would those things change?
Well, I have multiple names, multiple image URLs.
Yeah, but that just represents each object. So at any point, do you plan on changing the name of a course or the image URL of a course?
No, I don't.
Okay, so then what do we?
It could be a constant.
Okay, so let's go ahead and change that real quick.
Okay. Just gonna copy and paste here.
So yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Really quickly, I want to kind of drill down on this. This seems like you might struggle with this a little bit. So what's one thing that could potentially change on this course object? Let's say I wanted to add
number of lessons.
Okay. So let's say I added a lesson to the course.
Yeah, this would definitely need to be a variable.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to make sure you understood the concept of a constant versus a variable and when to make one the other, because variables use up more memory than constants do. So whenever you can make something a constant, you should.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so this looks good so far. Let's keep going.
Yeah, so now I just need to actually fetch this data, this course data from the URL.
Okay.
I typically make a separate folder. So
once again, we don't have to do
API.
That. We're focusing on speed, so I guess, okay, if you're going with it, let's just go with it now.
Yeah, just shouldn't have named the file, but foundation. Let's call this service.
Okay.
And I'm just going to create a function in here called, I actually want to make this, I have to share it, so static.
Okay.
I'm just going to create my function here. So function, we're going to call it fetch data. And I'm going to have a completion, which will be an array of courses.
Okay.
So let me just do that really quickly. Escaping. And you're going to see that this course will come up.
Yep, good.
Void.
Awesome.
Okay.
Do me a favor and let's make that completion input parameter. Let's make it a lowercase c. We want our input parameters to be lowercase. There we go. Cool. All right. So what now?
Yeah. So basically, I just need to have a URL here. So I'm gonna ask for string. Just get the string really quickly.
Okay. We're on the right track.
All right, so now let's turn it into a string.
Okay.
I have to use this.
Can you do me a favor? Go ahead and full screen this. Just let's get a little bit more room to see this.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
So I'm actually going to put a guard statement on this URL.
Okay.
Just because I want to make sure that the URL exists. If it doesn't, then we can just stop there.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So hopefully, see that. All right. I'm going to use this URL section. This is to go into the URL and get some data back from it.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Let's see. We want a completion handler. Yes.
Yeah,
okay, it's asking for URL. We have our URL, and then we're gonna have data. Response and error.
Okay. You're gonna want to make that error lowercase. Sometimes Xcode will mess that up for you. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So first things first, I want to make sure that data, I'm actually receiving or retrieving data from the URL. So I'm just going to put guard statement.
All right. So really quickly, let's go ahead and see if we can call this function and like print out some data. Let's see if we're getting some data back.
Sure.
I want to see how you implement this. So go back into the function and let's, maybe add a print statement or something.
Sure.
To see if we're getting data back. Where would you add that print statement?
Let's see, so completion. I would have to add that here.
Yes.
This is what I'm asking for data, so.
Right.
Print.
So essentially, what does this completion block represent? What's happening once we're inside of this block?
I'm going to basically make the data into a course object.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, let's
data,
Yeah. That's fine. All right. So where would you call this function now?
Well, I want this course array to show up on my course controller, so I can have access to it.
Okay.
So if I wanted to fetch the function, I would do that in here. I would just can actually do that now. Just like with these notes here. So I could call this function here let's like call it fetch data.
It looks like you're outside of your class bracket there.
Oh, sorry about that.
All good.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool.
So I would say source, I believe we called it. Let me just make sure. Yep. Service.shared.
Okay.
And when I do this, you'll see this fetch data here.
Okay, looking good so far.
Yeah, so I can call this whatever I want, data, but let me finish up this API file.
Well, I want to just see if we're getting data back.
Oh, okay.
So let's actually just go ahead and try to run it. I want to see if, well, you already did the print statement, right?
Correct, yeah.
Right, so we can just leave that blank. So what do we do from here?
I have to call fetch data here.
Okay. So when you call it and view did load, what's going to happen? What are we expecting here?
I'm just expecting a print statement.
Okay, so let's go see if we get it back.
Nothing.
So let's go back. Let's go back to the service function.
Okay.
Maybe one of our guard statements failed. Let's see how I want to see how you would sort of debug this.
Okay.
So
here, guardlet data. So I should have data. If not, it won't even print.
Right.
So
how do we? You're forgetting a small little trick that a lot of people forget with URL sessions. Got about 15 minutes left here. So I'll give you a hint. Everything inside your completion block looks good. You're just forgetting a small thing. It's not a big deal. I just want to see if you can remember. You got to do something with the URL session to make sure it works.
Oh, I believe it's .resume.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah.
So where do you add that?
Right here.
Good man. Okay. So now let's run the code again and see if that fixed our problem.
Yeah.
So let's go back, see if we get some data. Okay.
Failed to log metrics.
Well, you're actually getting some data. You see where it says 2073 bytes?
Yes, I do.
That's how the data is represented.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So we can just keep going now. I just wanted to make sure that we actually got some data back, or so you successfully are reaching out to the endpoint and you're getting data back. Now
Yes.
where do we go from here?
Well, I'm going to do a do and catch statement.
Okay.
It's like an if else. So I actually have to decode this data that I'm getting. So I'm just going to say let.
So essentially you're taking the data and what are you doing with it?
I'm taking that data and I'm basically trying to get a course object from that data. And I use JSON decoder to do that.
Good. Okay, cool.
So equal, and this is just what you need to type out to do that. JSON decoder.
Okay.
And I want to decode this course and from the data that we have up here.
Okay.
Decoder.decode. Oh, I need to conform to decodable. So I'm asking this course. Yeah.
So how do we do that?
I just need to go into here and see where I built my struct, and it needs to conform to decodable.
Okay, cool.
That should be okay. All right.
So let's see if that error goes away. Yeah, it looks. So you're getting another error there. Let's see what's happening there.
Requires. Oh, sorry. Not self.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we definitely need that. Should be okay now. Yeah, that's okay. We haven't really dealt with this, so. Okay, so I'm just gonna handle my completion now.
So what are you doing with the dispatch queue main there?
I'm not entirely sure. I
Okay,
know
that's fine.
Required. Yeah.
Okay, let's do the completion outside of that and see what happens.
Okay, sure.
You can keep it there, yeah. Okay, looks like you just need a bracket after catch.
Yeah. That should be. Oh, let's see. All right, everything's okay. Just say let error equal error, and we can print error.
All right, got about just shy of 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So I want to see if we can get some data on the screen.
Yeah, let's see if we can do that. So I called my fetch data in here. So if I want to get data on the screen, I'm going to need to put a array variable here so I can access it because I fetched data here. I have an array here, but
okay.
Yeah, I need to access it. So let's just call this courses, and it will be of type array. And I will say it's set, and I'm just going to say table view load. So once this courses variable gets set, it's going to reload the.
Okay. So it looks like you're getting an error up there. Let's take a look at that.
Sure. 1 second.
So it says expected member name or constructor call after type name.
Yeah, constructor call.
Okay, so what does that constructor call do?
I'm actually putting an array. I'm saying it's equal to an array now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm constructing an array.
Right. Okay, good.
All right.
So now
we just have to append. So I have, or actually, I'm sorry, I have to set this courses here.
Okay.
So courses will equal, we'll say data, because that's already
okay. Okay.
So let's see what we have. We actually shouldn't have anything because I haven't, at least we're not getting any errors. Go back to Xcode.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to come back to with that dispatch main. So click on that error and see what it says.
Here?
Yeah.
Must be used from main thread only.
Right. So you had the right idea and I steered you away from it. So let's go back to that service.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to see if you like understand why that's used. So it says that you have to reload the table view on the main thread.
Oh, I understand.
Right. So just do what you were going to do before.
Yeah, you just have to put this here.
Right. So essentially, whenever you do anything with the UI, that has to happen on the main thread. It can't happen on a background thread. So like, we can just keep going and talk about that later. I want to ask you some questions about that later. I just don't want to hold you up here. You got about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so let me just go in here and say cell. Well, I need a text, so let me just make a text here.
So the cell automatically, it actually has a text label property. Let's just see if you can access that and do something with it. Right, because I don't want you to have to go make a custom cell right now.
Right.
Text label, it should be. Yep.
All right, let's see where this is. It's going to be our course. Okay.
Yeah, I want each cell to have the course name.
Yeah. Let me just make sure this is correct. So we have an array here. Yep, should be courses. Oh, this is not going to work. Courses dot. One second. That's not going to work. 1 second. So once this is set, it's set.
So what are you trying to do here? Walk me through what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I need to bring out each course's name.
Mm-hmm.
But I only have access. I have an array here of course objects. But I don't understand why it's not being able to access
because them. Well, courses is an array.
Okay, so let me create a new constant.
Okay.
Variable. So let's I don't know, course.
Okay.
Equal courses. Equal courses.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can say.
So now what does that course name represent now? So what are you doing with the index path.row?
Yeah, this should actually not be called course name. You can call it whatever you want, but that wouldn't be correct. Right now, I'm going to say let course equal courses. So that will be the courses index path.row is filled with courses. Therefore, if I go into index path.row, it's just going to give me back, hey, go and find the first course, then go to the next row, the next course. So now course is going to equal just one course.
Okay.
So I can say, hey, let name, equal course dot name.
There we go.
Should be okay, and then cell label dot text label will equal course name. Should work.
Okay, this actually won't work. So that text label is a UI label. So what's going on here? You're saying cell.textLabel equals course name.
Yeah, so this course name is a string.
Right, but the text label is a label. So you have to access something on the text label and set it to that course name.
Okay. Dot text.
There we go.
Name.
Okay, so that's looking good. We're running a little low on time. You got about 2 minutes left.
Okay, let's see if anything shows up here. No.
So you got a crash.
Index out of range. So I'm probably returning 3. It needs to be this course. Let's make sure that's correct. Yep, courses dot count.
Okay, so what does that do there? Why was it crashing? And why did that fix it?
Yeah, because I probably have more courses.
Okay, well, first of all, you did great. That is, you got the course titles coming up on the screen. So that's great. Right on time, but I do want you to explain to me why it was crashing and how you fixed it. So let's go back to the code.
Sure. So if I say, hey, only return 3, but I have more, it's going to the index path.row, and I have way more courses than 3 courses. And I'm saying, hey, only return 3. That's not what I want. I want to return how many courses are in the count. I don't know if that's a good explanation.
How many, you want to return what?
I'm sorry. So basically I'm saying, hey, here, return this course's name. And I'm saying, but this courses in array has way more than 3 courses. It can have, 80, 100 courses.
Right.
If I say only return 3, it's not gonna understand. It's gonna crash.
Right. But why? Because you're only returning 3 cells, but you have potentially
X amount of cells.
X amount of cells. So you have to make it so that what? Like, what does the courses.count do? What does return courses.count doing?
Yeah, that's going to return how many courses are in the actual array.
And give you back that number of cells.
Yeah. Courses.count.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, you got that done. That was pretty good with the amount of time that we had. You worked through some bugs pretty well. How did you feel about that?
Pretty good. The time thing was a little bit tough because usually I think about things step by step. So I guess having a time restriction, I did have to think a little bit differently on, hey, I need to make this happen in a way that I'm not really used to. But I think since I understand it to a certain level, I was able to get through it. But it was very new to me to code. Like, for example, I usually create new files. It wasn't a big deal. Right. I just had to work through some little things.
Yeah, but that's sort of the purpose of the interview. We want to see how you react to some different constraints. Like, obviously you would never be put under a 30-minute time constraint in the real world, but want to see how you think on your feet. And you did pretty well. You got the stuff to work. You fetch data from an API and you're displaying it in a table view and everything is working. So that's great, man. Yeah. So that's going to do it for the interview. You did pretty well. In the rest of the video, I'll let you know if you got the job or not. You're going to have to wait to find out until it goes live on YouTube. Go ahead and unshare your screen. All right, guys, so that was the interview. That is actually a real life interview that I got for a senior iOS developer position. Wasn't using that exact API, but the concept was the exact same. So that is what you can expect to see for a mid to senior level iOS developer interview. Right, so I'm gonna talk about a couple things in this recap. One, how Brandon did and whether or not he got the job. Some things he did well, some things I think he could have done better. And what you guys can sort of expect and be expected to know in an interview, and what I would be looking for as an interviewer when I'm interviewing a mid to senior level candidate for an iOS developer. So first off, I think Brandon did a pretty good job. Overall, I'm gonna give him a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. Big thing was that he got the job done, right? So he was actually able to fetch some information from an API and display it in a list or a table view, which is what it's called in the iOS world, successfully. And he did that within the given time constraints, which is pretty impressive. So I did not expect him to be able to get the images on screen and stuff, because that involves like building out some custom cells, and within 30 minutes, you just don't really have the time for that. So one thing he did great was getting the job done, right? He also coded at a pretty high level, in my opinion. He had like good architecture skills. So he had the goal in mind of creating a modular code base where you create separate files for things, or you create what's called a separation of concerns. That's something that I really look for with a senior level candidate, right? You don't want to just stick everything in the same file. That's kind of what we ended up doing, which is okay. I told him to do that in the interest of time. But you guys noticed when he created like a separate class for the service or the API, that creates something called a separation of concerns, which is what I was looking for. So modular code base, huge plus. Architecture skills, huge plus. He knew to use a table view. He was able to explain why to use a table view. So that's just like some iOS specific things I was looking for. So overall, those are some of the things he did, very well. His code was very clean, and that's a huge plus. So some of the things he could have done better, and whether or not he's going to get the job. So he did fumble around a little bit with some of the questions I was asking him, right? So that's something you would expect a senior level candidate to be able to answer, but someone who's a little bit more senior, who has a little bit more iOS knowledge, right? For example, when I asked him about the main thread question, like I asked him, why are you reloading the table view on the main thread versus a background thread? That's a very iOS specific question. It has to do with main threads, background threads, the concept of threading in general. That's a pretty complex concept, but it's not hard to learn, right? Another thing that he struggled a little bit with was setting some data. He struggled with using the model correctly to set some data on the cell, but he was able to figure it out, which was huge. He also struggled a little bit with like the variables versus constants, right? But I was sort of able to work him through it. So what he really displayed to me was where he was lacking a little bit of knowledge, he was able to work through it in a pressurized environment with my help, right? So that's something that's really huge. Is someone coachable? Are they able to learn things sort of quickly and on the fly, which he was able to do. So that was really great. A 10 out of 10 would have been he just, flew through the whole interview. No mistakes, no help from me, but that's pretty hard to do in that environment, especially with his level of experience. So overall, guess what, guys? Kid got the job. I'm promoting him. He's gonna be, getting some more responsibility with the apps that we build for my company. It's a small development company. We do private contracts where we build apps for people. And he's going to be promoted to a senior level developer. He's got a lot of work to do still, but he's going to be learning on the job. That's something he's displayed an ability to do really well at. So last thing before we finally end this video is, what can you expect from a real life interview? Was that a real life interview? So the answer one to that is yes. That's actually an interview that I have gotten for an iOS developer senior position. Using a different API, but the concept was the exact same. So Brandon, I just changed the interview around a little bit for Brandon and actually gave him a real life interview that I've gotten for another company. Not the one I currently work at, because I'm not allowed to do that. I have an NDA signed with Facebook, but that was an interview that I did get for another position for another company where I got the job. So that is something you can expect to see in a real life interview. Something I'm looking for with candidates is like can they work within the full life cycle of an app, right? Can they go and get data from somewhere and display it somewhere? And can they do that effectively and efficiently with clean code? That's a lot of what app development is. You know, you'll get an API with some data. You got to be able to look at the API, build out your model, your data model, and then do something with that, display it to the user somehow, right? So he was able to do that really well. And that's something that you guys can expect in a real life iOS interview. Obviously, there's a lot more things that could happen, but that is something that I personally look for, whether in a senior level candidate. You know, I think that's a great sort of practice test. So you guys should be able to do the same thing. I'll provide a link to the API in this description so you guys can see if you can actually build that, and I'll provide you with the source code as well. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button if you wanna see more content like this. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace out.